Hello and welcome to our new Matrikon Data Brokers session. My name is Alexander Hein. I'm a technical solution consultant at Matrikon, and today we are going to take a look at the brand new Matrikon Data Broker Modbus adapter. As you can see here, we also have a separate how-to guide containing all the instructions on how to configure the Modbus adapter, and this video is actually based on those instructions. So you will see all the steps in a video that are described in this separated document. Okay, let's change to the test environment here. And on this test environment, I have prepared Modbus simulator, which will be simulating us some values as a Modbus PLC. And now we will set up the Matrikon Data Broker and the Modbus adapter in order to read these values from this Modbus simulator. First of all, we require the Matrikon OPC UA Explorer to configure the MDB and the adapter. So please start the UA Explorer and as first create a connection to your data broker. As you can see here, the data broker and the adapter are already installed on this environment and are also ready to be used. So here, fill in your data broker details. In my case, this is the local host IP and the port 444. This is where the data broker is listening on. And then simply choose your security method. Fill in the username and password. I still have here the default user credentials, which is admin and no password, and can connect. On a first connect attempt, on the very first connect attempt, you might need also to approve or acknowledge and accept the certificate from the UA Explorer at the data broker side. So please go to the certificate folder and transfer the certificate into the trusted folder. There's also already another video on how to do that, so please feel free to look this video first. Okay, now once connected to the data broker, we have at first to connect the data broker to the Modbus adapter because the Modbus adapter has been designed as an OPC UA server, so it can be treated as a regular data source that can be hooked up within the data broker. So we go to the Federation tab here and now can begin to add a new data source. I will call it my Modbus adapter. Click plus. Okay, now you see we have a connection created here, but of course first we need to adjust the connection settings and details. So here the IP address of the machine where the Modbus adapter UA server is running. In my case, this is localhost again, because this is also running on this same machine. And the port on which the Modbus adapter is listening is 555. This is something that you can specify during the installation of the Modbus adapter. So you can simply fill in the port on which it should be listening. Okay, now find server, and the Modbus adapter has been found. And it also provides us a couple of security modes. So just pick one of them. What else? Also, the Modbus adapter requires user credentials, and this is by default again admin and no password. We also need to check this enable checkbox so that the connection will be enabled to this data source. And we also need to adjust a couple of advanced settings here. They reduce the timeout for the cache and also suppress the URI and the host name. The reason for this here is simply the fact that sometimes the certificates contain the host name as an IP or sometimes as a host name. And this host name is also used within the URI, sometimes as IP and sometimes as host name. And this can lead sometimes to a mismatch between the name or IP within the certificate with compared to the actual returned IP or host name from the server. So just to avoid this mismatch, we can simply suppress those checks and then move on. Okay, click apply here. And you see the connection has turned good. If you do this for the first time, you might need to also accept the certificates between the data broker and the Modbus adapter. Because on the very first connection attempt, those certificates are untrusted on both sides. So you have to go to the two certificate stores and approve or accept them there. Okay, and then the connection should also become good. So when finally done, and we have the a proper connection established between the data broker and the Modbus adapter, we can now turn to the configuration of the Modbus adapter. So we can close the Federator tab and go to the adapter config. Okay, see here on the left side, we can see the drop-down menu with the available adapters, and in this case, my Modbus adapter, the one that I just created, is the only one here. So we can select this and start with the configuration. Yeah, the configuration follows pretty much the same rules as we did for our classic OPC servers. So we can add so-called device links. Now we call them nodes. And you see here that we have a couple of Modbus called and some SCADA called nodes or dev links. This is related to the fact that the SCADA nodes have been taken from our SCADA Modbus OPC server and the Modbus nodes from our planned or regular Modbus OPC server. And there will be also a slight difference later on where this plays a role, which node is being used. Yeah, for this example, I will simply go first with a Modbus Ethernet PLC dev link, which is the most simple one and actually also required for Modbus simulator that I'm running on this machine. Simply give it a name. I will call it simply A. Fill in description. It's optional. Host name, so the IP address. And because my Modbus simulator is running on the same machine, I simply give my localhost IP. The regular Modbus port is 502, and the Modbus address of my simulator is also address 1. So I can leave it in place as it is and click create now. Once it's created, we have to save this setting and click a refresh. Just to make sure that this window has been updated, I have to navigate away and come back and select my Modbus adapter again. And now here I see this Modbus Ethernet or this configured Modbus Ethernet PLC connection to the node listening under this IP and this port. Okay, the next step is to create OPC tags or nodes in our address space, because in case of Modbus, we actually just have only the registers within the Modbus device, and therefore the OPC server or the Modbus adapter doesn't know which of those registers are actually needed. So you have to create your own nodes for those registers that you want to read. And this can be done here under configure the address space. And here we can create our own text, which will be then referenced or pointing to the actual registers. Okay, and here while filling this out, this is a little bit tricky. So when you're using a Modbus type device link here, you have to fill in into the path field the dev link name, point as a separator, then the register type here for the holding register, and then colon. The next field is the tag name. I will simply call it tag. And the address template can be left empty in case of the Modbus dev links. Now we can specify how many tags should be created. I guess 5 will be sufficient. It will be incrementing by 1. Padding is the amount of places that will be added to the tag name in order to reflect the number of the register. And yeah, I will leave it as 4. You will see later on what it actually means. So set the data type and the access rights for this tag that you're going to create. And now we are actually done. So click create. You see the tags have been created. This is the path, the tag name. You see here the padding of 4. It's represented here by the 3 zeros and 1 actual number, the address, the data type, and so on. Okay, once done, submit this and confirm with OK. Now we can close this, save, refresh, and now we can go and see where these tags have been created. So we created these tags within the address space of the Modbus adapter UA server. So first of all, we have to go through the address space of the data broker and find the Modbus adapter as a data source. So we go here to the configuration, data sources, and here we found the data source my Modbus adapter that we added in the first steps. And now we can access the address space of the Modbus adapter. And here it is objects and views. So now within the Modbus adapter, we see the adapter configuration and the adapter data source. Those are the dev links you can create under the adapter. Here is my node A. And as you saw when I configured the tags, I referenced them to be under register type 4, which is holding register. So here are actually the tags located. And now I can add the tags. Okay, and we see them turning good. Now we can even compare them to my Modbus simulator here. The first register is 42, then 15, 11, and so on. And now we can even try it and change the value from here. And see, this has been changed. But we can also go and change the value at the device. And now it should be also updated here in our OPC client. Okay, you see this is working. Now I would like to show you the other option. So you saw we created this Modbus device link, which started with the Modbus name. Now I'd like to demonstrate you how to use or create text for these SCADA type device links. So I will pick the DevLink SCADA network channel. So first here I create a network channel. I will call it B. And that's actually it. So create, save, update, and we have again to navigate away and come back in order to see it updated here. We have B now. And now for once we have a network channel, we can create a host link. I will call it simply C. Okay, now it's referencing to also to the local host, because this is where my Modbus simulator is running, and the Modbus simulator is listening on port 502. So I need to adjust this one and also create the host link. Save, update, or refresh, navigate away, come back. And now we have our host link. And now we can finally create the dev link for the actual Modbus unit. I will call it simply D. It's also listening on Modbus address 1, and it should be also Modbus RTU TCP. Okay, this should be fine. Create, save, update. And now we have finally configured the actual connection through this SCADA type of dev links. Just for you to know, the SCADA type Modbus device links can be used if you have or if you want to connect it to multiple nodes or to multiple host units, so it's a bit more performant than using the Modbus Ethernet PLC the device link. So if you need to set up many connections and to hook up many Modbus devices, I would recommend you to use those SCADA type things. If it's just one or two, you can go with the regular Modbus Ethernet PLC type device link. Okay, again, so the next step would be here to create also tags for this new created connection. So we go back to the address space configuration menu here. And when using the SCADA type dev links, the usage of this mask is slightly different. So here we simply fill in all the nodes that we created, B point, C point, D, and fill in the tag name, call it item this time. And now in the field address template, we fill in the Modbus register type and the colon as a separator, and the rest is actually the same. So amount of tags, incrementation counter, the padding, also the data type and the access rights to these nodes, and now create. You see we got some additional text created here, so submit it to the Modbus adapter, so it will be created within its address space. Okay, done. Close here, save, refresh, and let's go back to the address space. So now we have to go back here because we created another Modbus adapter. So we have to refresh here on the data source. Object, adapter configuration. So, adapters, and now you see this new dev link, which is called B. And underneath B, we have C. And here finally the unit, D. And here under D, under the unit, we finally got the new created tags, which are called item now. And when I subscribe to these tags, you see I again get the same, well, it's getting the same values from my Modbus simulator here. So we're accessing the same tags just in a different way. And the way the reason why I wanted to demonstrate this here is because of the different usage of this mask here. So you know the difference and how to fill out the mask for the two different cases. Yeah, okay, so this is actually it. I hope you found this interesting, and I hope this will help you to get up to speed with the Modbus adapter faster. So thank you very much for your attention, and goodbye.